Hello everyone and welcome back to Royalty Daily. I am Jimmy Carden, and today I need to start with a question, a very simple question, but a question that, once you hear the answer, is going to change the way you look at the British royal family forever. How much do you pay for your home every month? Think about it. Your rent, your mortgage, the bills, the heating, the maintenance, the repairs. Every single month. You sit down and you work out what you owe and you pay it. Because that is how the world works. You live somewhere, you pay for it. Simple, fair, understood. Now, what if I told you that some members of one of the wealthiest, most famous, most publicly funded families in the entire world have been living in some of the most spectacular properties in England for almost nothing? What if I told you that while you are sitting there paying your rent every single month, certain royals have been living in palaces, actual palaces, either completely free of charge or at rents so low they are almost meaningless? And what if I told you that one of them, one specific member of the royal family, has been taking it even further, not just living rent-free, but actually subletting properties, renting them out to other people, and pocketing the income, while paying almost nothing himself? That is what we are talking about today, and here is why it matters more than ever right now, because Prince William, the future King of England, has seen enough, and he is about to change everything. Part 1. The scandal that started it all. To understand where we are going, you need to understand where we have been, and to understand that, we need to talk about Prince Andrew. Now, Prince Andrew is a name that most of you will know, and not for good reasons. Over the past several years, Andrew has become perhaps the most controversial member of the British royal family. He has been stripped of his military titles. He has been removed from royal duties. He is no longer a working royal. He has been, for all practical purposes, cast out of what insiders call the firm. But here is what you may not have known until very recently. Even after all of that, even after everything, Andrew was still living an extraordinarily comfortable life at the public's expense. He was living at Royal Lodge, a stunning 30-room mansion set in the grounds of Windsor, a property of breathtaking beauty and extraordinary value. And what was he paying for it? Almost nothing. A so-called peppercorn rent. A token sum so small it is essentially symbolic. A payment that exists not because it reflects the value of the property, but simply so that a legal agreement can be said to exist. But it gets worse, because while Andrew was paying almost nothing to live in one of the most spectacular properties in England, he was simultaneously renting out 3 cottages on the Royal Lodge estate to other people, subletting them, taking in rental income from tenants. Income that, according to a valuer cited in a recent National Audit Office report, could have amounted to as much as £180,000 per year. Let me say that again, up to £180,000 per year in rental income from properties he did not own, on an estate where he himself was paying almost nothing to live. The National Audit Office, the independent body that scrutinizes how public money is spent in the United Kingdom, published a report that laid all of this out. And the reaction, when it became public, was exactly what you would expect. Shock, anger, disbelief. Former chair of the Public Accounts Committee, Baroness Hodge, called it shocking. Former Liberal Democrat Norman Baker said it showed an absolute total contempt for the taxpayer. And somewhere, watching all of this unfold, was Prince William, taking note of every single detail, and deciding that when his time comes, this will never happen again. Part 2. William's Plan. Sources close to Prince William have now spoken to the Sunday Times, and what they have revealed tells you everything about the kind of King William intends to be. William is going to do things differently. That is the phrase being used by people close to him. He will do things differently, and what that means in practice is this. First, subletting will be banned. When William becomes king, no member of the royal family will be permitted to sublet royal properties for private income. Full stop. No exceptions. The days of living in a palace at peppercorn rent while renting out the cottages in the garden for £180,000 a year will be over. Second, non-working royals will no longer receive free or heavily discounted housing. If you are not working as a member of the royal family, if you are not carrying out official duties, representing the crown, serving the public, then you will not be entitled to live in a royal residence at the public's expense. Simple, fair, understood. Third, and perhaps most significantly, William wants to look under the hood of the entire operation. That is another phrase being used by those close to him. He wants to look under the hood, to examine every arrangement, every agreement, every lease, every rent, every single financial arrangement that governs how royal properties are used and who benefits from them, and he wants to make it all more transparent. Sources say that William is acutely conscious of public perception. He understands that in the modern era, the British public, and indeed the watching world, expects the monarchy to be accountable, to be transparent, to be, in his own words, fit for purpose. And here is the thing that I find most telling about all of this. William is not just talking about these changes, he is already living them. When William and Catherine moved into their new home, Forest Lodge in Windsor Great Park, they did something that no senior royal had been required to do before. They signed a proper lease, a 20-year non-assignable lease with the Crown Estate. And crucially, that lease contains a specific clause preventing subletting. William himself is bound by the very rules he intends to impose on everyone else. He is leading by example, and he and Catherine are reportedly paying considerably more rent for Forest Lodge than the previous tenants paid. Transparency, fairness, accountability, in action. Part 3. Who else is affected? Now here is where it gets even more interesting, because Andrew is not the only royal whose living arrangements have raised eyebrows. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, Andrew's daughters, have reportedly never paid rent for their homes at St. James's Palace and Kensington Palace. Never. Despite both women working, despite both having husbands with successful careers, despite neither of them being working members of the royal family, in the formal sense, their rent has been covered by the king's private funds and charged at a rate approximately 40% below market value. 40% below market value. In London, where the average person is struggling to afford rent at full market value. When William's new rules come into effect, this will change, and rightly so. But of course, there is another name that everyone is thinking about, a name that has been conspicuously absent from the official announcements, but that hangs over this entire conversation like a shadow: Harry and Meghan. When Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties in 2020 and moved to the United States, they gave up Frogmore Cottage, their official royal residence in Windsor. They were subsequently asked to vacate it entirely, and King Charles made that decision clearly and firmly. So in one sense, the Frogmore question has already been resolved, but William's broader vision, his determination that non-working royals should not benefit from royal property arrangements, sends a message that extends far beyond any single address. It speaks to a fundamental principle about what the monarchy is for and who it serves. And it leaves no ambiguity about the direction of travel when William sits on the throne. Part 4. Why this matters. I want to take a moment here, because I think it is easy to look at this story and see it simply as an internal royal housekeeping matter, a tidying up of some awkward arrangements, an administrative correction, but it is so much more than that. What William is proposing goes to the heart of what the British monarchy is, and what it needs to become if it is going to survive and thrive in the 21st century. The monarchy exists. It is funded, it is supported, it is tolerated, because the British public and the watching world believes in what it represents. The history, the continuity, the ceremony, the service, the idea that there are people who dedicate their lives, genuinely, completely, without reservation, to representing their country and serving their people. When a non-working royal lives in a palace for free, they undermine that idea. When a member of the family who has been stripped of his duties and cast out of the firm for bringing shame on the institution is still pocketing rental income from royal properties, it does not just look bad. It actively damages the argument for why the monarchy should exist at all. William understands this, and more than any royal of his generation, he has shown a consistent, determined commitment to addressing it. Think about his work on homelessness. Think about his Earthshot Prize and his commitment to environmental solutions. Think about the way he and Catherine have approached mental health, openly, honestly, without the performative distance that previous generations of royals maintained. Think about Catherine's work at the Christie Hospital in Manchester just days ago, walking into a chemotherapy ward, ringing the bell with a 30-year-old cancer patient, saying, "Well done you," with tears in her eyes. These are not people who are interested in privilege for its own sake. These are people who understand that the value of their position lies entirely in what they do with it. And what William is saying, loudly, clearly, without apology, is that going forward, every person who bears the name and the benefits of the royal family will be expected to earn them, through work, through service, through genuine contribution. If you are not working, you are not entitled to a free palace. It really is that simple. Part 5. The bigger picture. Let me zoom out for a moment because I think there is a broader context here that is worth understanding. We are living through a period of genuine transition for the British monarchy. King Charles came to the throne after decades of waiting, and he has brought his own vision, his own priorities, his environmental passions, his commitment to the Commonwealth. But Charles is 77 years old, and William, at 43, fit, focused, and more strategically clear-eyed about the institution than perhaps any heir in living memory, is waiting. And while he waits, he is preparing, he is thinking, he is making decisions, not just about properties and leases, but about what kind of king he intends to be, and what kind of monarchy he intends to lead. The property rules are one piece of that picture, but look at the whole picture and you see something remarkable. A man who is systematically, deliberately, piece by piece, building a version of the monarchy that he believes can genuinely serve the people of Britain and the watching world for another generation. A monarchy that is transparent, that is accountable, that does not ask the public to fund the comfortable retirement of people who have brought scandal and shame to the institution, that leads by example, that signs the same lease, pays the same rent, abides by the same rules that it imposes on everyone else. That is William's vision, and frankly, I think it is exactly what is needed. Outro. Call to action. Now I want to hear from you, because this is one of those stories where I genuinely do not know what you are going to say, and I want to find out. Do you think William is right? Should non-working royals be expected to pay their own way? Full market rent, no free palaces, no subletting for private income? Or do you think there is still a place for the old arrangement, for the idea that being born into the royal family comes with certain lifelong privileges, regardless of whether you carry out official duties? And what about the specific cases? Andrew, Beatrice, Eugenie, Harry, and Meghan. Where do you draw the line? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and if this story moved you, if it made you think, if it gave you something to talk about today, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Royal Tea Daily if you have not already joined our family here. I am Jimmy Carden. This has been Royal Tea Daily. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and I will see you in the next one.